Hi everyone, welcome back for our final chapter in Flat Stanley. In chapter 4, it was exciting when they were in the art museum. And chapter 5 then, Arthur has a bright idea. So, Flat Stanley is written by Jeff Brown and pictures by Scott Nash. Thank you for a school year where you shared so many of your bright ideas with me. I appreciated it. I love putting work on the spotlight wall. And I had the bright idea to become a teacher when I was in 7th or 8th grade, so I went to Illinois State where I was able to pursue that bright idea of mine. So thank you for letting me share this year with you. All right, chapter 5, Arthur's Good Idea. For a while, Stanley Lambchop was a famous name. Everywhere that Stanley went, people stared and pointed at him. He could hear them whisper, "Over there, Agnes, over there. That must be Stanley Lambchop, the one who caught the sneak thieves," and things like that. But after a few weeks, the whispering and staring stopped. People had other things to think about. Stanley did not mind. Being famous had been fun, but enough was enough. And then came a further change, and it was not a pleasant one. People began to laugh and make fun of him as he passed. "Hello, super skinny," they would shout, and they made even ruder remarks. Stanley told his parents how he felt. It's the other kids I mostly mind," he said. "They don't like me anymore because I'm different, because I'm flat." "Shame on them," Mrs. Lambchop said. "It is wrong to dislike people because of how they look, or their religion, or what they say, or what they wear, or the color of their hair." "I know," Stanley said, "only maybe it's impossible for everybody to like everybody." "Perhaps," said Mrs. Lambchop, "but they can sure try." Later that night, Arthur Lambchop was awoken by the sound of crying. In the darkness, he crept across the room and knelt by Stanley's bed. "Are you okay?" he said. "Go away," Stanley said. "Don't be mad at me," Arthur said. "You're still mad because I let you get tangled the other day when you were a kite, I guess." "Would you just skip it?" Stanley said. "I'm not mad. Just go away." "Please, we're brothers. Let's be friends." Arthur couldn't help crying a little too. "Oh, Stanley," he said, "please tell me what's wrong." Stanley waited for a long time before he spoke. "The thing is," he said, "I'm just not happy anymore. I am tired of being flat. I want to be a regular shape again, like other people. But I'll have to go on being flat forever, and it just makes me so sad." "Oh, Stanley," Arthur said. He dried his tears on a corner of Stanley's sheet and could think of nothing more to say. "Don't talk about what I just said," Stanley told him. "I don't want Mom and Dad to worry. That would make it only worse." "You're brave," Arthur said. "You really are." He took hold of Stanley's hand. The two brothers sat together in the darkness, being friends. They were both still sad, but each one felt a little better than he had before. And then, suddenly, though he was not even trying to think, Arthur got a bright idea. He jumped up and turned on the light. I think I have to turn on the light. Oops, the lights didn't come back on. And he ran to a big storage box where toys and things were kept, and he began to rummage into the bottom of the box. Stanley sat up in bed to watch. Arthur flung aside a football and some soldiers and airplane models and wooden blocks, and then he said, "Aha!" He found what he'd been looking for, an old bicycle pump. He held it up, and Stanley and he just looked at each other. What do you think he's going to do with that? "Okay," Stanley said at last, "but take it easy." He put the end of the long pump hose into his mouth and clamped his lips tightly around it so no air would escape. "I'll go slowly," Arthur said. "If it hurts or anything, you wiggle your fingers at me." He began to pump. At first, nothing happened. except that Stanley's cheeks began to bulge a bit. Arthur watched his hand, but there was no wiggle signal, so he pumped on. Then suddenly, Arthur's top began to swell. It's working, shouted Arthur, pumping away. Stanley spread out his arms so that the air could get all around him more easily. He got bigger and bigger and bigger, and his buttons off his pajama top burst off. Pop, pop, pop. A moment more, and he was all rounded out. Head, body, arms, and legs. But not his right foot. That foot just stayed flat. Arthur stopped pumping. It's like trying to do the very last bit of those long balloons, he said. Maybe a shake would help a little. So Stanley took his right foot and shook it twice. With a little whooshing sound, it swelled out and matched the other one. There stood Stanley Lambchop as he used to be, as if he'd never been flat at all. Thank you, Arthur, Stanley said. Thank you very much. The brothers were shaking hands and jumping up and down when Mr. Lambchop came into the room with Mrs. Lambchop right behind him. We heard you, said Mr. Lambchop, up and talking when you ought to be asleep. Shame on George, said Mrs. Lambchop. Stanley's round again. You're right, said Mr. Lambchop, noticing. Good for you, Stanley. I'm the one who did it, Arthur said. I had the bright idea. I put air in him. Everyone was terribly excited and happy, of course, and Mrs. Lambchop made hot chocolate to celebrate the occasion, and several toasts were drunk to Arthur for his cleverness. When the little party was over, Mr. and Mrs. Lambchop tucked the boys back into their beds and kissed them, and then they turned out the light. Good night, they said. Good night, said Stanley and Arthur. It has been a long and tiring day. Very soon, all the Lambchops were asleep. And that's the end of Flat Stanley. Just the very first one. There's several other volumes after this if you would like to read any other adventures of Flat Stanley and his brother Arthur. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day and a great weekend. Bye-bye.